places I shouldn't. Warp core's humming, troubles brewing. Her captain's log says I'm up to no good, and I love putting myself in places I shouldn't. Oh, I'm boldly going where the rules say no. Minor sail enters a cargo bay real slow. From the Delta Quadrant to the Romulan hood, I'm putting
let's just
myself where
open the sack
nobody
first
should.
and see what's actually in it. It might not even be worth the trouble.
Slipstream drifting, OPC ships are shaking, messing with the raw weed just for the fun we're making. Fate is fire, but my grin stays wide. Got a nutshell problem I just can't hide. I love putting myself in places I shouldn't. Oh, I'm boldly going where the rules say no. Minor sail enters a cargo bay real slow. From the Delta Quadrant to the Romulan hood, I'm putting minor sail where nobody should. Drop your draws and out of warp, let's bend those lanes. Scopely still selling packs at 99 again, but I laugh and sing while checking your system. Cause mine are sell fueled by the piratism. I love putting mine are selling places
My bad, y'all. The microphone was not pulling up correctly, so apologies for that. There we go. Now it's better. It was not pulling up the microphone correctly. Now it's good. All right, now it's better. Oh, that was almost awful. Anyway, we're good now. I can go ahead and turn my music on down in my ears. I don't need it that loud. So, happy Sunday. How's everybody doing? Welcome in. Hope you're having a fantastic day. And if you're not, hopefully I can make it a little bit better. Talking Star Trek Fleet Command today. Obviously, you're on the Star Trek Fleet Command channel. And we're going to be talking about the PvP brackets changing, which I'll admit, surprised. Not terribly surprised, but a little bit surprised based on what they ended up being. And then we have the event schedule. And then I'll have a video tomorrow talking about the Incursions changes. So there's a lot going on here this weekend. So that's could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. Everybody's going to have an opinion on it. Obviously, with me, I tend to err on the side of, well, let's experience it first and then kind of go from there. But yeah, there's a lot going on in STFC and a lot of things that people might like. I mean, honest to goodness, it's kind of split. We did a quick little friendly poll last night. The reason I worded it as like a friendly poll, it wasn't meant to be like a formal, like this is for sure how the community feels, but like we did a poll on the incursion changes, and 2/3 of people liked the idea of the changes, 1/3 people didn't. And the PvP bracket's going to be the same thing. The interim schedule, maybe a little bit of the same, but we'll go over all that and get y'all's thoughts. And that helps me have better feedback when I do end up talking to the teams. And yeah, so we'll go from there. But let's give a shout out to everybody who's here first. James Scott, OG Harlock, good to see you. Francis Shu, Dark Genniger, Patrick Hole, James Vaga, Dark Genniger. You are talking so much. And you know what? That's just normal for you. You just talk. You just like to hear your own voice. Valley Bomb, good to see you. Wesley Clark, good to see you. Rage Starve, Routes of Borg. Doug is here. Doug's one of our longtime viewers. Tavi's here. Shout out to 20. Martok, welcome in, everybody. Bob's here. Humble's here. Hey, Humble, welcome back to the land of the living, my friend. I hope you enjoyed Kami, California. Hope you had a great time, my friend. Nijima, Time Lord, welcome in. Hope y'all having a fantastic day. So, good buddy. Thanks, buddy. Good time. I'm happy to hear that. I really am. I think that's awesome. Got to spend time with family. Got to have a good time. Good to see Apex Braun. Good to see Stacy, Sethan. Welcome in, y'all. So I guess we'll start with, well, one, I'm doing polls because this is Star Trek Click Command. That's what we do. We click our buttons many times every day. But there's other stuff going on. How about we start with the event schedule, and then we'll get into the big topic of today's stream, which is the PvP brackets. So, what's up, GT Carrot? Good to see you. Welcome in. Welcome in. All right, so watch the power of the internet. Y'all about to see some craziness. Watch this. This is gonna be insane. Whoa! 20 years ago, that happening would have freaked people out. Now everybody's like, yeah, Rev, that's basic. You're like, worst content creator ever. Of course you can do that. Anyway, let's start talking about what we have here, and we're gonna have a split. And I'm very curious to see how these schedules are gonna roll out. But here we're gonna start with our mid-ops players, ops 20 through 50. You have Quark's Grand Challenge. Well, we've seen that before, but it's back with a new shipment of special supplies. That sounds like the Colombian pony. He's looking for a commander who doesn't mind getting their hands a little dirty to secure them by taking on this latest set of hostile contracts, blah, blah, blah. Hostile contracts, noted. One currency matters, you'll be hunting most exclusive, totally legal items. So, here's what you got. Easier completion. This was a big piece of feedback with Quark's Challenge event series, was that depending on your ops level, it wasn't easy to do, or they didn't feel like it was doable. So the milestones for 16 individual hostile events have been reduced, making them quicker to finish. The meta itself is getting an adjustment. Reaching the 5th milestone requires a high level participation, which is completing 15 of 16 events. So what they're doing is they're making it easier to complete, so like less total events, but you now have to complete more of those events to do them. So instead of having like 20 events available and you only have to do, 14 of them, they're now going to give you 16 events that are not as hard, but you now have to do more of them, if that makes sense. Improved clarity to help players track their progress. All scoring events are now grouped together in the in-game news. Additionally, each relevant event now explicitly states in its description that it scored in the Grand Challenge, which is, it might seem like basic feedback points, but like this point right here, this third one, that's actually really big. I cannot actually exaggerate on the number of people that will message about things like that, just where things just are not well described and well explained. You need content creators to break it down. So that's a good thing. Good to see you, Anthony. Server 72 is merging on the 25th. And now we're scheduled for Incursions on the 28th. I thought we would be giving a buy since the merge. Messaged Sammy and said he would fix it. Cool. Thanks for letting me know. Update rewards. The event store offerings have been updated. While some special supplies remain the same, new items have been added. Now you'll notice they don't tell you what these are, but that is going to be our mid-ops stuff. And here's the schedule for all those. So you can go ahead and plan these events. Monday, March 23rd. So that's going to be tomorrow for those who are watching live. Shout out to y'all watching live. If you're here, go ahead and hit that like button. It actually helps the channel, believe it or not. Quark's Grand Challenge, SMS, Quark's Battleship Run, and Swarm. These are the SMSs starting on Monday. Obviously, doing with the Battleship is probably going to be the best way to do it, period. As in, go hit Swarms with your Battleship, make it a 2-for-1. Right? If you don't have a Battleship that can do that, well, okay, split it up. But one of the events is requiring you to Battleship. And again, it's something I harp on a lot. It's why I don't skip ships, because if you happen to be a player who says, hey, Rev, I don't have an Explorer that can do my SMSs and events, that's a bummer. Because if you can't predict, you got a Battleship event, there will be an Explorer event Tuesday, then there'll be an Interceptor event on Wednesday. So if you don't have a ship able to handle some of these, something to keep note of. But again, they are making the actual runs easier, so lowering what the actual score requirements are. So hopefully it won't be too bad for you. You do have an SLB here, though, which is dealing critical damage to FKR, Swarm, Borg, Eclipse, Actian, Lost, Heroic, Freebooter, X-Borg, and Texas-class hostiles. I'll go ahead and tell you, of those, in terms of doing the critical damage, the Actians are going to be a very easy thing to spam on. In terms of, you can make some pretty crazy critical damage versus Actians. You can also do that against a couple of the others. But, just a little pro tip, Actians can score some really big amounts in that event. If you want to do that SLB, you want to chase that SLB. Then we have the Quark's Fleet investment, which is upgrading Disco, Serene Squall, Cerritos, and Titan A. So this is very similar to what you're used to seeing if you're a higher level player in Chronicle of the Ascendant. Same idea. Same idea. The Wolf says pushing all the higher level players into the limited swarm systems is ridiculous. What are you talking about? We're not talking about higher level players, Wolf. So what do you mean? What are you talking about? We haven't even gotten there yet. So anyway, Tuesday, Epic Luck Officer Flash Pass starts, as it does on Tuesdays. That lasts a week. That has Black Ops Mbenga and Villain Winadami and Ezri Dax inside. Then you have 2 more SMSs doing hostile runs with an Explorer and doing Borg probes. So hunting Borg probes with an Explorer will let you do a 2-for-1. Wednesday, again, it's for the mid-ops players. Interceptor run and Lost Hostiles. So doing with your Interceptor, we'll do a 2-for-1 there, just shortening your time. And then you'll have an SLB for Fleet Commander XP, Fleet Commander credits. Again, it's kind of breaking up some of those COTA themes, and you got it here down at mid-ops level. Good to see you, Edward Pierre. Welcome in. Thursday, for those mid-ops players, you have 2 SMSs, Cardassian Armadas, and Freebooters. Sadly, no way to combine those. You also have the full fleet SMS, which is dealing damage to FKR Group Armada. So it's going to be a busy day on Thursday. Thankfully, though, there's synergy here because this will help you do your Vindicator event. This will help you do, well, it'll definitely help you do your Vindicator event. I was trying to think if that would actually help for your Eclipse, but it won't. But it will help with the Vindicator. So if you're level 40 and above, you get a nice little twofer there, getting something that you should be doing anyway. I encourage everybody here. Good to see you, Kevin's. Welcome in. RV, good to see you. Welcome in. I'd encourage everybody listening to make sure you're doing your Vindicator on Thursdays. It might seem like a loop that has a ship that maybe you're not super invested in. I understand the Vindicator is not necessarily the sexiest ship. It's not one that we immediately run to and say, hey, this is one of the strongest things in the game. But I do really want to emphasize that it is important, even if you're not utilizing the Vindicator as an everyday ship. Just a reminder, because I know a lot of people are visual people, and shout out to Bob, who always reminds me of that. Here is the Vindicator. It's the one that has like the electrical outlets on the side. It's the one that looks like the vacuum from Brave Little Toaster without the big bag on the top. However you want to describe it, it's the Vindicator. Now, you certainly can make an argument that the Vindicator can be useful today with like Conqueror, Borg solos and stuff. But the main thing with the Vindicator that I really want to get people big on, not the warp ranges, not the use of armadas, it's honestly just the refinery. Now, I'm not saying there's no other value, but every player would want to pull this every day. You got officer sourcing for big armada / entity officers. You got fleet commander sourcing for every fleet commander except Khan and not 7 of 9. Khan and Cisco. And then you got the Vindicator Strongbox, which is paying you out temporal disruptors, armada speed ups, and then the research and then the Vindicator parts. So no matter what, hopefully Thursday, everybody's doing those events because, again, Vindicator is just something you don't want to skip on. Then Friday, after you have that SLB that runs regular armada directives, Friday, guess what? 2 more SMSs, and now you got an RLB coming in, regional leaderboard, destroying hostiles. We'll see. All right, but anyway, back to here, defeating hostiles, bonus points for doing augments, for the augment run. I do really appreciate that even though augments are available for everybody, as in like if you're Ops 26, you can do augments. You should be able to do augments. You can score here by defeating other hostiles as well. Then you have a Dominion hostile run, which is a little bit, for me, in my opinion, inconvenience because a lot of people aren't using the Defiant, the Bajoran faction like they once did. But that will at least be something you could prepare for. Hey, this upcoming Friday, I'm level 45, and I'm going to have to make sure I'm doing my Dominion stuff. Saturday, again, don't forget, there's ticket events that are also run coinciding with all this. But then Saturday and Sunday, here's our event structure. Destroying hostiles, Eclipse hostiles, again, for Sunday. Then we'll be doing Silence on Sunday. And then last but not least, another SMS on Saturday. I'm sorry, I've been saying Sunday. Saturday, you have 4 SMSs for the Quark event. And that's by doing Texas Hostile. So y'all be very busy if y'all want to complete this. Remember, the meta here is you have to beat 15 of the 16 events. So there's some busy days here. I think it's good if you want to make sure you beat this meta, jot them on down and know, hey, I've got to do some things. Or at least just have this handy, right? Here, I'll put it in the chat for those that don't have it real quick. Let me rotate this, put this in the chat. For those who have not looked at the schedule and you are somebody who cares about, completing the metas and stuff, you're going to want to pay attention because there are a couple of busy days, right? It will depend on what ops level you are. So for example, the silent one, that was only for ops 40 through 50, but there's a lot going on these days. We do have some breakage in segments, but some of these are overlapping for everybody. I mean, for example, Thursdays, you're just going to be busy that day, right? If you want to do all the SMSs, right? You're just going to be busy that day. You got to do cardies, you got to do freebooters, you got to do FKRs, right? So just keep those in mind. Sunday, then we come back to Quark's Reflection, and then we do a Mirror and Herosian, and then finally Monday, all events for everybody 20 through 50. We've got 2 SMSs, 2 SLBs. Pretty much what you've already been doing in terms of the actual activities. You're just grinding more hostiles, but they're changing it. And I will say this about this. In terms of the structure of this, I do like that these events are making you hit every major loop. You're hitting the augment loop, You're hitting the Zindi loop, right? At some point in this week, it's encouraging people to put their hands on and touch all the loops in the game that are currently relevant. Now, that has both good and bad. The bad of that is the fact that you have to do a lot of things. And no, Patrick, this is our playlist. You're actually listening to a song that's a tribute to Major Samo. But while we're sitting here talking, though, you're hitting every major loop that is important in today's game. So keep that in mind. All right, now Echoes of V'ger is happening for 51 and above. Some of you, again, have already heard this before because this is not a new event. It's an event that has been updated based on player feedbacks. That's what they said there at the top. Here's some changes. Pull costs for the V'ger Cordiality Exchange have been lowered. This is a big one. This was a big one for me. If you remember when Echoes of V'ger came out, one of my complaints was just the value for the work is not really there. I talked about just skipping some of the events because there were a couple of events that felt like for a lot of players would take 20 minutes. And in return, you would essentially earn one officer shard, right? So very curious to see what those updates have been lowered to, because a lot of people just were skipping Echoes of V'ger completely because it just wasn't worth the effort for some of those events. I'm very curious to see what those adjustments look like, though. Updated Syndicate and Directive chest. This is for G7 only, but outdated Directive has been removed and drop rates for outposts and open armadas have increased. There you go. Get ready for some nice Veil PvP. Now, for everybody else, though, who is 51 and above, the Amity Exchange now guarantees V'ger sensor artifact shards. I actually see that as a positive. You have a daily Amity pool, which if you're not familiar with how that works, it's literally just one of those. You go in, click it, you get RNG amount of currency. And then the V'ger hostile balancing has been adjusted. Again, very curious to see what this is, right? Every player should be able to hit V'gers at their level, regardless of what they are. But some people are still working on getting there. We've had a little bit more time to get more players accustomed to these areas, but doesn't necessarily mean that they're all there yet. So let's talk about the event schedule. Again, this is for level 51 and above. So if you're level 20 through 50, guess what? We already talked about you, but you can't leave. We got to talk about everybody else now. Don't be one of those people who's like, well, he's not talking to me. I'll go take a break. No, you sit your butt down and listen, just like all the nice G5, G6, and G7 people listen to us talk about your G4 life. So Monday, we got a full slate of games, ladies and gentlemen. SMS, Echoes of V'ger meta. You know what that is. There's also an Echoes of V'ger AMS. So one thing I didn't like about the quirks, I want more alliance-based stuff. Well, you've got it here with Echoes of V'ger and server 20. It's going to be fun. Let's put it that way. Score the event by defeating 8472. It's going to be your Monday theme. 8472 will be your Monday theme. That's just the V'ger 8472. So thankfully, even though there's a lot of events that will pop up, there's a lot of synergy, which is something we ask for a lot. It's a lot of synergy. So Hemi says, I'm having issues hitting V'gers at my level. Well, that just means we need to work on it, right? Because at the end of the day, everybody should be able to punch at least straight across on V'gers. Even if you're at one of the tricky episodes like 68, 69. Now, we got plenty of players who are doing it, so it just means, okay, it's an achievable goal. We just got to work towards it, right? Now, I will say this. On Tuesday, the 8472 V'gers are arguably one of the easiest ones. These are arguably one of the easiest ones that exist. The 8472. So they're not doing it on the Wednesday. They're doing it on that Tuesday. Now, you do have a couple days to run this, but, get it done. Right, get it done. Don't be lazy. Get it done. There's a heroic and a regular, just like last time. Then we have V'ger's special species threat protocol on Thursday. And then on Saturday, you have another threat protocol. Again, 8472 V'gers. Now, coming on down to the regular events for everybody 51 and above. This is during the interim that we're getting into here. We've got Cal coming back. This is for everybody. Shout out to Cal. We fought hard to keep that thing around. Then you have an SLB called Observing the Opposition for 51 and above. 68 through 70 Orions are the hardest, but if 8472 are there, you can skip Orions and complete them easily. It's true, Patrick, but I'll also add that even if you're level 68, 69, or 70 out there, and again, I'm not shaming people, but you should be able to, with no boost, hit 8472s. And if you're not yet, then that just becomes a goal that you need to work towards. It's certainly, what I'm pointing out is that it's very achievable, and it's very doable free to play. But maybe that's something that, there's an area that maybe you hadn't worked on hard and you need to come back and work on those things. So, but the key here is it's not like they're not picking the Orion V'ger day. They're picking the 8472 V'ger day. So That's a big one. Then Tuesday, same time, we have COTA, which we all have already been told is returning. I'll be honest, I'm not a COTA fan because they keep whittling COTA down, because at the end of the day, COTA is meant to be a spend mechanic. So, you know, sure, there are people who do save up for a month on those things, but obviously what they're wanting to drive at is to get you to spend to upgrade your ships and stuff. But this is supposedly the last run of COTA, so starting Tuesday, there's your chance to get it in. So, guaranteed artifact shard also positive. Correct, Gopher. We did cover that. War Room will also be beginning. Don't forget, we have Incursions next Saturday, right? So that's going to be the 28th. We have Incursions. Incursions has changed a bit. I have a video about that tomorrow if y'all are interested. But tomorrow we'll go over Incursions a little bit more in depth. Today we're going to focus on the PvP banding and the events. And then Maverick stuff going on Tuesday. Wednesday, Excelsior Upgrade SLB, Transgen events. Thursday, Conqueror's Dive, HMS. Obviously, that's going to be for G7, but that's with the Conquerors. And then the Conqueror Borg Blitz for an SLB for 55 and above. Again, that's the Conqueror Borg Solos. Conqueror Borg Solos. All right, Saturday. EU-US, Infinite Incursions. APAC technically is on my Friday if we're going by timing. And then Faction Hunt begins this upcoming Saturday. Now, there will likely also be another week there. But we'll see. It's hard to envision there not being a 2-week break here to get everybody back on track for April, assuming April 7th ends up being your launch date for the new arc. Or they could change it up and do it on March 31st and just say, heck it, we're not following the month by month anymore. We're just doing it by weeks. So I'm very curious to see how they want to play that. They could truly be getting away with the 2-week breaks, which would be fine. I just want to see it actually happen before we call it, right? I just want to see it before we call it. But does seem to be the direction they're heading, is dumping the 2-week break as a mandate, which will make it a little bit confusing down the road, because as we get further and further down, if we are doing it just based on, we're running arcs based on a set number of time, then about halfway through the year, you're going to start having arcs that end halfway through an arc or halfway through a month and then start again, you know, a week later. So it won't be easy to just say, hey, what we had in July, right? What we had in August, because that could be multiple things. So not necessarily a big deal. We'll just see if that is an adjustment that we have to make as we go further and further down that line. Any comments, questions about events before we start talking about PvP? So yeah, there's several changes being discussed. And again, if there is an area that I don't have as much access to that I used to, it is when it comes to events and live ops and how they're structuring things. I still have a lot of access to game design, which I'm very grateful for. And I'm not saying I don't talk to community and community managers, because I do, but that doesn't mean I know all what they're thinking. I know a lot more what game design's thinking than I do live ops. So we'll have to all wait and see together for some of those things. Other things, though, I think are kind of easy to discern what direction they're heading in. Raven says the wording in game sounds like they want to start with only 1 week between arcs. And I get that wording, Raven. It's just going to, for me, come down to how does exactly that play out. Because again, if we stay consistent with how battle passes are, right, then we're going to be essentially limiting the ability to track by month, right? Because again, no month is even, right? And the historical path was if there was a 5 Tuesday month, then you would have a 2-week break just to keep the schedule rolling month to month. So if they decide that they don't want to do that structure anymore, which is fine, it will just simply mean that we as players have to then adjust to say, well, it's no longer what is going to be the theme for March, what's going to be the theme for May, what's going to be the theme for September. It's going to be, hey, do you remember the DS9 arc? Do you remember, well, no DS9 arc. Do you remember the Strange New World arc? Do you remember the Star Trek Academy arc? And doing it based purely on that. So Humble says the first rule of live ops planning is no one can talk about planning or plan. Yes, standard operating procedures don't exist. So, yeah. What's the difference between live ops and game design? Great question, Gopher. Live ops is the one who handles everything that happens every day in game. They're the ones who design the events. They're the ones who design your battle passes. They're the ones who tell you what your goal is every day. They are not the people who created Conqueror Borg Solos. They are the ones who create the events saying, hey, go do Conqueror Borg Solos. game design is the design team who makes the board cube, who designs the mechanics of how it works and, you know, what ties to that loop. So they're the ones who will design the Defiant and then say, okay, we're going to tie it to this hostile and these solar armadas. That's game design. Live ops are the people who design your battle passes. They design your packs, right? If you're curious who comes up with the $100 pack for blah, 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 live ops. That's the one. Now, there have been times, I mean, I've created packs in the just the pure definition of, I've said, hey, if you made this pack, I think people would buy it, but I've never gotten a commission off packs. But they're the ones who will design this. So, would live ops also do the missions? So live ops will just handle this. The missions would be the narrative team. If you're talking about writing the missions, writing the goals of the mission, things like that, that'd be the narrative team. All right. 13 battle passes a year, more money for Scopely. Yeah, well. At the same, like, to counter that, Michael, because I get what you're saying. You're talking about like 13 main battle passes a year versus 12. My counter to that is the flash passes. In my opinion, there have been many months where the flash pass was more valuable than the regular battle pass. And because the flash pass is, one, cheaper, but also the flash pass will maybe some months will have just great officer selections in it. And at the end of the day, a lot of players benefit more from great officer selection than they do benefit from, you know, let's say you're level 63, but you're sitting at 63. I'm using me as an example. The battle pass at this level doesn't really pay out specialty items, right? But it pays out a lot of choice tokens, so I can then have stuff like this. But maybe you're sitting where I'm at and you have 113,000 uncommon and 50,000 rare crystal, right? Just as an example. Maybe you have 46,000 and 27,000, right? So like if you spend a little bit of time, these materials, I'm not saying they're not important because I could definitely blow through this. It's just more of, well, maybe you're more craving officers because like we were just talking about before, maybe you're not hitting the V'gers in a way that you want to, and you want to do better. So maybe you're more chasing certain officers. Thank you for spamming me with these. I really appreciate it, boss man. Thank you. So in those cases, you're maybe leaning a little bit more to flash passes. The point I was making is, you know, every battle pass is not for every person, right? You know, I'm sure there are people out there, humble, who would buy a battle pass regardless and just like, hey, I get what I get. But a lot of people change based on where they're at in the game, which has more value or less value battle pass wise. So the Revenant really changed the mat's value in the battle pass, says Robert, and I agree. Now, again, there are definitely levels out there where you need as many materials and resources as you can get. I mean, the closer you are to G7, obviously, the harder the economy is going to be on you. So the more you're likely to, you know, prefer choice tokens. And if you have somebody like Rev saying, oh, I like officers and specialty currency battle passes more, you're probably like, well, Rev's an idiot. I need more Sigma Tritanium than I need life and air to breathe. Because things can all be true at the same time, right? Like all these can be factual statements. So depending on where you're at, one battle pass might be more valuable than the others. The only point I was really making. And for many of you, a flash pass might have been more valuable. Just depends on where you're at. So anyway, event structures. That's live ops. Been loving your battle pass at your level 45? Yeah, and see, I, Wesley, think the G4 have the best standard battle pass in the game. And I can show y'all a side-by-side comparison if you're curious why I say that. But there are also battle passes that high levels have that are also better. You know, so for example, let's look at the first contact one. So the first contact one is obviously, as you would have gotten used to if you've been in the later editions of this, in terms of battle passes, like you're in the higher levels of the game, it's going to tie to whatever the loop that is this month. In this case, it's the Maverick stuff and choice tokens, and then that officer, right? But it's pretty standard, right? It's very standardized, and it's very specific to just this one loop, right? So everybody can see this. Everybody agrees this is clearly just one loop. That's it. Nothing fancy, nothing. All right, now if I take you over to the, give me a second, I'm going to boot it up. I'll take you over to the other one. One second. I got to click all these different Yay, you're a winner, Harry. Yay, you're a winner, Harry. I get it, I'm a winner. For anybody who wonders, my base wasn't broken. That's just, I left my ships out in territory. So let me show you this battle pass, just so I can give y'all a visual of why I say I love the lower level one more, the mid-ops one more. So this one was a mid-ops one called Conquest. Right, let me show you, not only is there choice tokens, this is level 40 account, but we've got stuff like this. Reliant schematics. That can either be used to get blueprints for the Reliant that you don't have, or upgrade parts for the Reliant. You also then have Starfleet Honors randomly inserted. We have Artifact Gallery schematics kind of randomly inserted. We've got Syndicate XP and some Space Relay buildings. The reason I love the mid-ops battle passes so much is because they hit several loops at one time. We got War Room stuff down here. We've got CT currencies, right? The reason I am just so big, we've got FT currencies. The reason I'm so big on the mid-ops passes is they're hitting several loops at one time, and then also giving generous amounts while hitting several loops at one time. Because again, look, there's Emblems of Honor next to 16 Reliant schematics, which can again either be used for parts to make your Reliant upgrade faster, or to get the Reliant if you haven't picked it up by this time. I love how these operate more. I love how these operate a lot more. But again, it's all on where you're at, because depending on your ops level, like Humble was saying, if you're level 72, you care a heck of a lot more, understandably. You care a heck of a lot more about the choice tokens, because that's going to be directly your Sigma Trit, your rares, your uncommons, and I can get that. I definitely, the logic is there. It makes sense. So, yeah, anyway, that's why I am so big, and I'm always hyping those up, and it sounds like I'm just being super positive, because I am truly super positive about those. But back over here we go. Willie says, don't understand why they took base rating out of Incursions. That's like the main motivation to raid bases. Well, that's simple, Willie. And again, we'll cover this in tomorrow's video, but they're removing it because it was not, you couldn't run a balanced Incursions with it. So there was major feedback to adjust the format. There's been major feedback to adjust the format for a long time. And this is them trying something different. And I certainly am not going to guarantee it makes everything better, but they are trying something different, and everything they're trying is based on player feedback. I mean, and I've got proof that I can share of players asking for things like a PvE mechanic in Incursions 4 years ago, right? And it was actually one of the majority requests. So, all right, I'll worry about that later. What's up, Ghost Bob? Good to see you. Other than the daily drop, is there a way for free to play to get the material conversion tokens? Nope. That's the way. That's the way for everybody. So, that's the way for everybody. Give more artifact building parts, and see, they do at mid levels. But if you're behind on the artifact gallery at higher levels, you're just kind of up that creek, right? You're kind of up a creek. Oh, look, I finally got the 631 beacon. All right, that's gonna be a nice little booster there. Oh, almost 500% shield booster. Heck yeah. And then we got this one, which is gonna be nice for my cosmic particles. Make things more efficient. We always have more efficiency. It's all thanks to the transition loop getting all these upgraded. Obviously, still a lot that I have to get, but there's that sensor we were just talking about, which will be a guaranteed in this next V'ger run that we have next week. So, Mr. Kramer says losing an Incursion because someone didn't shield was always frustrating, so I welcome the change. And I'll do a video tomorrow where I expect there to be very loud differing opinions. I have talked to some players who hate the changes. I've talked to a lot of players who love the changes. If you want just my personal experience so far over the past 24 hours, far more positive feedback than negative. But there are also people who are very unhappy. And I think with something like Incursions, there's no way to kind of get everybody on the same page there. Somebody's going to get, unhappy about something. But I do welcome an actual change, and then curious to see what that change looks like as we have more time to play with it. Certainly not trying to say it's the answer, but it is at least something being done for what for most servers had become essentially a dead mechanic. So the goal is to get more people interacting in this, and we'll see if that ends up being the case. We'll see if that ends up being the case. Afternoon Flip, good to see you, by the way. Welcome in. Welcome in. Not losing Incursion because a rogue intentionally didn't shield and kept popping tokens will also be great. Yeah, I mean, and look, I acknowledge that that happened to some people, right? That happened on some servers. Was it the majority of what was happening? No, I don't believe so. But it was happening, and for those servers, a lot of them are going to be some of the most ardent defenders of these changes. Good afternoon, Leland. Welcome in. So now Gopher says, personally, I would have kept rating in, but reduced the scoring and increased PvP scoring for balance. Well, the problem with that, Gopher, is they already did that. They actually did that several months ago, and nothing changed. Because at the end of the day, there's just simply not a ton of PvP in the rating format. There are some great ones. I think most people here probably have fantastic stories to tell of Incursions battles where there was this raid going on where you were attacking, defending, and that was some of your best PvP interaction ever. I know I certainly have those stories. But the truth is those stories are few and far between. And if you look across just server to server, you're seeing servers have an incursion participation rates of 20%, 25%, 30%. Like the good servers were like at 40%. Like that was like a good, so over half the people were actively ignoring incursions every time it popped up. And that's just not a successful event structure that you want to run every single month. So just by design, it's meant to include the entire server. So they had to change up something. Now we will, in a second here, get into the PvP change that could be rocking the world. It's the actual PvP brackets changing. I'll be honest, I don't feel like it changes much at all. Some people disagree with me, and we'll go over that too. So last month, our server beat server 10 by 0.02%. It was the closest I've ever seen. That is really close, and tends to be the closer it is, the more fun it is. I will tell y'all this. Don't forget to make sure you're getting all your regular Armada directives, though, because the main scoring metrics for Incursions are Klingon Armadas, PvP events. So, yeah. This doesn't send even more people into hiding behind their shields. Well, there will still be raiding events, but raiding won't score for the main scoring mechanic. So what I assume will happen is there'll be less people who worry about being uber shielded. And I still think it'll be a great time. Like if you're Humble, for example, he's a G7 player. And if you do find just a really juicy base that you think you can get Sigma out of, it's still worth doing that during Incursions. But there's not a need to do it for the actual Incursion scoring mechanic. But I do still think that it's a valuable time to get your rating in. You're not worried about, like some other people were talking about, an individual player costing you a match, costing you an Incursions. Right? It's actually now going to be based on everybody who's actually actively playing, not an oopsie, just use Humble again because he is an active whale in the chat. Maybe Humble had a family emergency and he just left his phone, never shielded, and of course, he gets raided. It's Incursions. And then Humble feels bad because he truly had a family emergency, couldn't shield, but he cost 2,000 people a win. Well, now that's not going to be a thing anymore. And those animosities that would come up won't come up. So I'm not saying the system's better. I'm just saying it's changing, and we'll have to see how that actually plays out. Here, good opportunities to swap and start talking about the PvP bracket changes because they have adjusted some. Now, as you can see by this chart, the people that are affected the less are, of course, the people exactly like Humble, because when we adjust PvP brackets, it's not really to make it more balanced. It's to make people stop moaning. So you'll see that if you're level 80, which there isn't one yet, they can still punch all the way down to level 60, where if you're now level 60, you can only punch down to level 50. The ability to punch up is still mostly there for a lot. Really, for G5 and above players, that's still a mechanic. And then you're pretty much even Stevens throughout the middle rung before it widens up. And for all those curious, well, why would they do that? So they don't piss off the big people, so they still have plenty of targets. So I've said it before. My personal opinion is there should be no PvP bans at all. It should be exactly like Territory. This doesn't fix anything. All this did was remove more targets from mid-levels and still let the high levels do whatever the hell they want to do. I think this setup is just as bad as the previous setup. The best setup is just to open it up completely. There's no reason that anything shouldn't be there. Remove all PvP banning, period. Because all repairs are cheap and free. You never have to actually replace a ship. You just repair it. Because at the end of the day, this doesn't fix anything. This is still the complaint people will continue to have. A higher level player can punch down and hurt me and I can't do anything about it. It doesn't help anybody because that still exists. So, but here it is. Again, that's my opinion. People are more than welcome to disagree with that opinion. But here are the new bans. The reds are what was removed. So previously, an 80 could go down to a 46. Now they can only go down to a 60. My argument is that was almost never happening. Like 72s weren't going out and hitting 76s. It is incredibly rare. The people who were complaining were like, for example, my 63 going against 72s. That's who was complaining, right? It was the people in low G6 getting hit by low G7s. That's who was complaining. And that hasn't changed. That stayed exactly the same. So, again, I don't see how this fixed anything, but some people might love this change. Some people might think this has made things much better. And if you have, that's awesome. Again, I'm not going to fault anybody for having an opinion about a PvP ban. My opinion is this doesn't help anybody and you just need to remove it altogether. Coach says no PvP banning. That means you can raid higher levels when you're low. Agreed. Now, I would also counter that currently raiding has no real purpose in the game. Sadly. Like I say that truly sadly. Raiding is pretty much a dead mechanic. The people who need raiding can't raid for what they need, as in people who need Sigma in G6 and G7 can't easily raid for that. And then if you're G5 and below, you have no need to raid. Now, you can raid because it's fun. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Like, if you just say, hey, man, I want to raid because it's fun, then hell yeah, go raid. Have a great time. But nobody who needs to raid has viable raids to be done. And then everybody else is just doing it because they like the mechanic. And there's, again, nothing wrong with liking raiding as a mechanic. It doesn't help you in the game currently. If we actually change it to where that helps in the game, then I'll be a much happier person. But at the moment, that's not how it works. Right? Nobody's getting helped in the game currently. So I'll swap these around. For those that are curious, I'm about to do my V'gers. That's why I'm looking around the background. I'm not ignoring y'all. I'm just letting y'all look at the PvP bans because it is a lot of data to intake at one time while I am in the background getting ready to do my V'gers. If you're fully up on PvP levels, the beam tax must go. I don't think the beam tax should exist at all. The beam tax is only there to protect people who get their fifis hurt when their big ship that costs Sigma gets hit by a smaller ship and you have to pay the repair costs. Because I say this with as much love as I can. The highest levels in the game, this is not everybody, and if you start saying that I'm targeting you by saying this, well, a hit dog will holler. That's what we say in the South. VIP and high levels are some of the whiniest people in the game. And there are people who spend a crap ton of money who, if I could beam them and just damage their level 72 ship, let's just say if I could just use my cube to beam their vengeance to death, they would have a full-blown panic attack. They would lose their crap. And that is just a factual statement. If you're not one of those people up there, I wasn't talking about you. So don't go get offended for no reason, okay? Don't go get offended for somebody else's sake. But anybody who's actually in the VIP Discord can tell you one thing. It is people complaining every daggum day. Every day VIP. Humble's here. Ask Humble. Ask Humble what VIP is like. It's literally just continual moaning and groaning. Just constant. Constant every day about something different. That's why beam taxes and stuff exist. Because also at the end of the day, those are the people giving you significant amounts of money. Which is also why I don't like the PvP banning, because you're not actually fixing anything. You're still catering to the highest levels, and all you did was hurt your mid-ops players who can't punch up now. So, Humble says that'd be okay with it if it took hundreds of cube beams to whittle me down. Exactly. And that's why I've always been great with people like Humble as my whale, because they encourage the competition. But sadly, there's a lot of people who don't encourage the competition. There are a lot of people who want to dominate with their dollar, and they want to be impenetrable because they had their dollar. So, Humble says 100% can confirm, 100% crying, 100% meme span, 100% whales. Yeah. Again, I hope nobody out there who is a whale takes offense, because I realize that's not everybody. But that doesn't change the fact that this business will cater to the people who are spending the most, as most businesses will. And there is a large percentage of those people who are very, very sensitive. So, Patrick agrees. Yeah, again, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just trying to tell y'all this state of the game, right? So, anyway, y'all got comments, thoughts on this? Comments, thoughts? Leonard, good to see you, by the way. Need a raiding ship that bypasses standard mats. And look, that's already been put up and suggested. In fact, VIP had a big convo with this, and Nigel talked about this on Voice of the Players, which is a podcast here. If y'all enjoy podcasting here for Star Trek, I definitely would point you to the Voice of the Players. Definitely, my opinion, the best podcast currently. Nigel and the group that they're running. And while nothing's perfect, I mean, they're doing some awesome stuff. And feedback they give is generally pretty good. Now, keep in mind, the perspective is still going to be from a higher level with a lot of the Voice of the Players people, but you can tell a lot of the feedback they try to gather is not just that. So it's not just high-level feedback, which I'm very grateful for. But what I was trying to say is they have already been pitching ideas of like a CT item, so a actual tech that you'd put on your ship that allows you to raid a percentage of Sigma directly. Like, these are all things that have already been brought up and we're pretty sure have actually already been developed. They just haven't been released. Probably, again, and due to fear of what the backlash could be. So, yeah. Release the Sigma, let the pirates raid. Yes. Wesley says, can't say I'm bothered by the banding changes. Yeah. Completely fair. Rage, good to see you, by the way. Sounds like they all sound like Mr. Krabs, me money. Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, look. I won't fault people for being rich. Because let me tell you, I'm very appreciative that Star Trek Fleet Command is a free-to-play game. Like, I don't have to pay a dime if I don't want to, and I get to enjoy all the goodies. I enjoy that. I mean, I do. I mean, I'm not going to shake a stick at free. I love free. If it's free, it's for me. It's what I always say. But I also agree that, personal opinion, do I think that it would be good to be able to raid Sigma directly? Absolutely. But at the same time, just take a moment and think about it. If you were a business owner and you had a customer who every month is going to consistently give you 10,000 American dollars, consistently, like, you know for a fact, every month, Billy Bob comes in, Billy Bob gives you 10 grand for whatever you did that month. And you changing something like allowing their base to get Sigma drain might cause them to say, well, I'm not giving you 10 grand this month. That changes your opinion. And obviously, as a player, our first thought is, well, they should just shield. Yeah, for sure. But at the end of the day, we operate with the game inside the game. They operate with the game outside the game. And as a business, I understand the viewpoint of, well, dang it, I don't want Billy Bob to stop giving me 120 grand a year. You know? So I get it. Hypo says, you said rating is more or less useless for lower levels? Yes. Yeah, I mean, rating has not been needed for a very long time. Like, I openly here, again, I'll just put up my level 40 account just to use as a reference. I have let this account get rated several times because it doesn't matter. I am currently at level 40, sitting on, after getting rated several times. Like, I don't even shield at night. I'm sitting on 2 trillion par steel. Almost 290 billion tritanium. I don't buy packs. This is not like I bought a bunch of monthly packs. Nope. This is just the game economy. You can come in here, you see I don't have the battle passes, nothing. This is all just normal acquisition in today's state of the game. Here, I'll click on the battle pass. Y'all can see this is not secretly a spend account that I've been earning oobles and goobles of resources somehow and nobody else can. This is just the normal state of the economy today. Here, look at my materials. I just hit G4. I literally just hit G4. Like, what was it, Humble? Well, you were actually in California. 710's here. I think it was, what, a week ago, 2 weeks ago I did it? I did it right before this Alliance tournament. So let's just say 2 weeks ago. Look what I'm already sitting on. Look what I'm literally already sitting on for G4 in a couple of weeks. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, that's kind of my point. I don't have much rare, obviously, because I'm just now getting into rares. But, I mean, uncommons, ship parts, the economy has drastically improved. And people are speed running the lower levels. Put this back to where it was before. So I just use that as a visual. Yeah, rating's pointless. Why would I raid? Why would I raid? Just playing the game casually, I've got 2 trillion par still. Why would I raid? And I let myself get raided all the time. Ask people from 710 who are in the chat. How many times my base has gotten drained because I just didn't care, right? Because again, if I was to let my base get absolutely drained, like you take it to the coffers, what I have in my vaults will pay for everything I need to do. And then if I just do one event, I will recoup a lot of what I lost. So the lower level of the game, in my opinion, is the most fun area to play right now. The best place to play Star Trek Fleet Commander is between the levels of 30 and 60. Because every spin choice you make doesn't feel forced. It's I want to make my account better. I'm having fun. Now, I'll acknowledge that they probably make a heck of a lot less money in that bracket range than they'd like. But I'll tell you what, it's fun. And anytime I've bought something on server 710, it's because I was actually enjoying the game, not because I felt like, well, crap, if I don't get this, my gameplay is just going to take a dive. So, is USS Reliant ship good? Yes. I mean, it's very integral to the augment loop. I have it on all my accounts. And yes, it is absolutely a stud. Stud. Walter says, I'm stuck in a war for 2 years. Now shielding's not an option. I mean, that's fair. But like I said, even if we are at war, like on server 710, I don't worry about it. Hell, even if they drain me, I'm not losing anything. So the only reason to avoid getting drained is the pride, right? That way they can't trash talk and be like, yeah, we raided Rev Deuce. We took him down to the coffers. Now the only reason for me to shield is because of the war. And even then I don't. So. Yeah. From a lower ops is just how fast it is. You bypass way too much. Well, that's a choice, Hellcats. That's a choice. Like, you made that choice. Like, you chose to fly through stuff. I didn't. So, gives an exo comp that you can collect once a month. So when you raid, it lets your amalgam continually pull the same amount from base for 1 hour. Time to shield and decent time to get Sigma. I don't even know how that exo would work, honestly, Timmy. But, again, I'm definitely not opposed to ideas that make the game better. So, anything y'all can think of that makes the game better that we can realistically pitch to them, I'll pitch. I'll put it right down the middle. I promise to goodness I will. I got to go finish my challenge so I can do that poll. You're playing slow, but watching others get caught up in the speed. Well, again, caught up is relative because if you, for example, go to level 50 and you don't have relativity and you're still relying on Pike and Roach in, well, you're not good for your level. So, what's up, Tim? Good to see you. Welcome. Thank you for the 5 gifted memberships to the channel. I greatly appreciate that. And if y'all also want to help out the channel and get more info on what's happening in the game, get more info on me and my family, please check out my website, revduce.com. If we could get just 5 people a month to sign up for that, that would go a very long way. So if you're out there and say, hey, I want to help you more and I want to get more perks, check out our website, revduce.com. I know many of you won't, but maybe I'll get lucky and there's somebody out there who will. Is there any other place to get the rare Armada building components other than the Armadas? Yeah, the away teams. So if you go down to your away teams menu, the very bottom, click it. See this one that says priority ACC combo? Right there. Now, note, the amount that you get is based on operations level. But if you are a player that fell behind, if you fell behind on your building, so your Armada control building is not where it is, you can't level up, this is a valid option to go in and quickly get those rare cores that you need. As well, you can see regular Armada tactical cores. And you spend the away teams 2.0 currency. And if you've been doing your away teams since they came out, which has been about a year now, every account should be in a position where you can afford to do that. Now, if you're still new, you're still working at it, maybe you choose to put that currency into other places. But, yeah. Ari is 53 and just Tritanium is just killing me right now. You need to do more events, Ari, because G5 pays out insane amounts of Tritanium. But there's a lot of events that you would need to do. But the good news is it's there, right? Yeah, like the option is there. All right, I'm going to get this queued. Wait till your relativity's max for moving off 68. Relativity's a great ship. Yeah. Relativity's a fantastic ship. So if you put 1 trillion from a base, your first amalgam hits, you continue to put 1 trillion. Yeah, Timmy, I'll be honest. I think that's a terrible idea. That's just my opinion. I think that's an awful plan. I don't see how that makes rating better. I think it makes it worse. That's just me. Is the Excelsior worth getting? Yep. I would recommend free to playing it. I wouldn't purchase the Excelsior. Now, I purchased the Excelsior because I am here to teach content. But the main benefit to the Excelsior is you come to your challenge track. As you can see, I'm bad about not doing my challenge track. But the Excelsior lets you get milestones 6 and 7, which is a big jump in your payouts. So, but yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Max Relativity, Velox Tier 9 and Cube to Tier 15 this weekend. Heck yeah, Jonathan. Great job. Some big steps. Big steps. Now the question is, what's the plan for 70 and when? What's the plan for 70 and when? Where do you get the directors to do those away teams? I don't have enough to start one. You need to go do the augment loop. Right? You got to do the augment loop, Jamie. So augment, you'll come in. You've got your priority 1 claim that costs uncommon. And then you have your standard planetary charts claim right there. Costs your common. See, I just got 500 by doing that double pull. Takes hours to clean out a base to get the Sigma. It does. It does indeed. I think the better option here, Timmy, is not your EXO idea. It's just an item or a ship that allows you to get a percentage of Sigma immediately. So. Chatter says, evil, dumb, crazy ideas. Sigma rating comes with Sigma shields. See, again, not an idea I personally like. I do like that y'all are spitballing ideas, though. I like that y'all are spitballing ideas. All right, let's see. I'll make sure I'm getting all my polls here while I'm answering y'all. Oh, gotta come here and get Slipstream done. Pulling that 2 at a time. We're working on it. We're not there yet, but we're working on it. We're working on it. Let's see. Make sure I still need to go do more con stuff. But actually, I need those for something else. I need to run more of these today. I need to go do more of those. I need to go, at the same time, leave my Reliant out and let it do a little grinding. You're ready to do it for 20 hours to get a Sigma, but you max your relativity with it. And see, I would just personally never do that. I respect people who will. There's just no shot. No shot. No shot at all that I'd ever do that. But that's awesome that y'all are doing it. Like, if y'all are out there and you're willing to do that work, I respect the heck out of it. I just won't do it. But I'll still, like I say on Twitch all the time, I respect the work. I'm just not willing to do it. All right. Sit down. Give it into y'all's 4% chance if you are G6 to raid Sigma. Yeah, I mean, sure. I said there's ways they could do it, but the reason that you don't see it comes back to what we originally said. And that's you don't want to risk making mad the people who are funding your game. I hit the wrong thing. I did not want to get Klingon Loyalty Pack 17, but I just did. So congratulations, Rev. This is what you win. Awesome sauceum. Let's get this now. Didn't mean to click that, but that's okay. I got plenty of faction credits. Just easier to buy a pack. Well, I don't do that either. But, well, I can't say I don't. I do it very, very rarely. I did buy a pack this month, though, so I guess I'm basically a whale. I did buy a pack this month. Sorry. Judge me. I can't help it. How much time should be dedicated to completing missions? I mean, there's no mandate for doing missions, honestly. Like, there's no reason to do missions that aren't the main story unless you just enjoy the stories, which is also completely fine to enjoy the stories. But there's no mandate to do those. I mean, you just need to make sure you keep up with the main storyline, because if you don't, then you're not going to be able to get a lot of things in game. Because you're not going to be able to go to basic D space without doing that, right? You're not going to be able to ever go into G7 without your main story. So you want to keep up on that, but there's a lot of extra. So the only stories you need to do are the ones with gold borders. And there's still, while I'm saying that, there's still a lot of others that are really good, right, that I would recommend doing. For example, the augment missions which you pick up just doing the augment loop. I would recommend doing those because they pay out those currencies we were just talking about. They pay out some of the officer shards, right? So that can help give you a kickstart on that loop if you've not done that already. But if we're just talking about general usage and stuff, the gold missions are the only ones that really matter. So James says lots of loot in the FKR missions. And see, my counter to that is that applies to almost nobody. That would apply to maybe the G7 missions. But there's no reason, for example, to do any of the G6 missions for loot. You have tons of loot. None of those missions pay out enough to make you like really go, wow, go do that mission. Like there's no secret mission giving you 1 million Sigma Tritanium at level 62, right? That doesn't exist. Now there are some missions that you can get to with great warp range that can give you access to like G7 mats. So maybe that is a definite to do, which again, G7 players, we do recommend they do those. And we do try to help G7s reach those spots and teach them that. And we've been using even things like the Excelsior's warp range to show places you can go. But I just don't feel like that applies to most of y'all who are here in the chat today. So, Kaldon says, I need a G7 mission to pay 1 million Sigma Trit. Yeah, I know, right? I think everybody does. And here's the kicker, Kaldon. Probably about 2 years from now, that mission will exist. It just doesn't exist now. Sure, at some point they will. So, Humble says, in their opinion, the best reason to do the FKR missions is after each rep lock, where you can get free rep without affecting the other two. Sure, and then my counter to that, this is the basic, that's just such a little amount of rep. But you are right, more is more. And if people are trying to do like you were doing, those who don't know, Humble was doing crazy things at level 70 before Ascension was on our server, where this man was literally trying to max out like 9 trillion rep at level 70. He's a crazy man, absolutely nuts. But the fact that he was working on all those, you know, awesome. He needs as much rep as he can get. Most of y'all out there probably not in the same boat. Tim says they'll make missions that pay a ton of Sigma Trit right after they introduce Omega resources. Yeah, I mean, something like that is, you know, the future, right? We know, right? I think many of us have come to accept it. That's just how we understand this is the way of the world, right? We don't like it, but we have accepted it. At least that's where I'm at with it. And maybe I shouldn't be, but I've accepted the fact that certain economy things won't happen until beyond where most people are to be able to benefit from them. These are all crap. I just need to eventually finish them. Let's finish these ISO researches. Get those cooking. Remember, a reminder, I am a big person in the, make sure you're speeding up researches every day. If you're out there, y'all probably do not realize how many several thousand individual nodes there are for researches. As in, if a research has 10 levels, that's 10 different researches you have to do. There are so many thousands every day. And I say this a lot on stream. I recommend, if you're out there, speed up several researches a day. Doesn't matter what they are. Feel free to go after the ones that don't cost any mats. That way you can save the mat ones for weekends, like right now, where you can chase after leaderboards or something. But every day, so that you don't fall behind on these things, spam them, right? Get these things upgraded. Get them upgraded. Again, not specifically because some of these are worth anything. Like some of these are terrible. Some of these are fine, right? Like there's nothing wrong with cost efficiency for Klingon ships. Like I'm not going to complain about that. But, you know, how many people really care about base defense ones? But at the same time, you can fall behind by ignoring some of these. So just spam through them, right? Pick some ones that you're actually going to use that actually have some value and just spam your way through them every day. And personally, what I like is I save the ones that cost mats for weekends, and then I'll just spam through them on the weekend. Willie says, I'm curious about the planetary base stuff that's coming out. Seems like it has the potential to be a real game changer. I agree. We'll just have to wait for it to come out before we can drop an opinion, but I agree. I love the sound of a truly new dynamic and a new mechanic being brought to STFC. So, why not Scopely kill Chronicle the Ascendant? Well, you do have one more running this week, Pax, but I can give you my opinion on why it's canceled, and it's not something they'll ever confirm, and they would probably vehemently deny, even if I'm right. I'm pretty confident it's getting removed because COTA and events like it are always meant to be spend events. They're designed to make you spend on packs to upgrade your specialty ships. Spend on packs to do this over there and that over here. Upgrade your buildings, your ops, etc. And the fact is, people kept saving for it and not doing that. And if you notice, as they move, COTA, when it first started, everybody was like, man, it's super generous. It's super great. And then they started whittling it around and they started saying, okay, well, this milestone changes. And now this scoring mechanic is different. And they started changing things. And they took away more and more to try to incentivize the spend. And it isn't there. So they're going to pull it. And what I would personally expect to happen is they simply come out with another version of COTA. This was just a spin design event. And eventually, certain event designs stop making the money they once did. You pull it off the shelf. You put it on the shelf for a while. You come back, you give it a new coat of paint, and you see if you can get the spinning to start again. And maybe that's too negative of a viewpoint. Maybe I'm being, a negative Nancy. But that's what I fully believe, is that COTA no longer has the value as a mechanic that players can really feel incentivized to spend on. So they're not anymore. So now Scopely no longer feels incentivized to keep it moving. So they've moved on to something else. Yeah, their prerogative, right? They've decided, look, this event's no longer making what we wanted to make financially, so we're going to adjust it and run something else instead. And again, that is their prerogative to do. Cool. More power to you, right? Put you down there. There we go. It's going to be the Dauntless, so I got to go run. I'm going to go run. I don't necessarily have to, but I'm going to go run some aggregation, and I definitely need to go mine more epic. So let me get my Serene Squall out. Do I have a generic PvE laying around? I don't. We'll fix that in a bit. Maybe we'll actually use this ship slot. It's not negative. It's 100% spot on. Not generating money, and they can't stand players enjoying the shards and loot without packs. I'll be honest, gamer. I don't think they see it like that. Like, there's not an anger to it. Like, they don't get mad at players not spending. They just simply say, hey, this didn't work for us because their goal is financials. So they adjust it. I don't think there's any actual anger there. Like, I don't think Live Ops is just like, though that damn gamer B32456. It's just this is a company that is not trying to make a good game. They're trying to make money. That's the first goal. And if they make a good game while making money, that's awesome. Some game companies do it the reverse. Like, they hope to make a great game and just pray that people spend money on their great game. And the truth of it is, y'all, look, I know we can list a lot of great games that we love that have made a lot of money, but there are plenty of games that were great games that just simply did not bring in the revenue to coincide with how much they cost to run. If we're talking about what gives you the best return on investment, there's a reason the free-to-play format makes most gaming money in the world. I know everybody talks about AAA titles and quadruple A titles now, and, oh, will GTA 6 be a 5A title? Whatever. End of the day, if we're just talking normal games, you run of the mill, you log in, you play. Free-to-play makes more money than any other game in existence, or any other games in existence. And they are very pay-first styled. So it's just games like STFC make more money than AAA titles. They just do. Now, does that mean they make more gross revenue? It depends. What are we comparing it to? But I mean, some of my favorite games have not made as much money as Star Trek Fleet Command has. And there are some games I'm very passionate about. Like, I think that these are some of the best games ever made. Have not touched what STFC made. So I get it. I don't think there's any legit anger there. Like, I don't think there's any actual animosity between somebody in Live Ops designing these events and the players. It's just they're trying to do their job. And we as players get frustrated with their job, which is also understandable. So people need to buy gas, not pixels. And see, Walter, I get what you're saying. But at the end of the day, again, this isn't meant to sound harsh, but if you're the type of human being that you are at a point in your life, just currently, where you're making a decision like you literally can't afford to buy something in game because you have to buy a real life item like gas, which is, by the way, very legit. I'm not shaming anybody. You're not the person Scopely's trying to get to anyway. You're not the customer. You're just not. You're not the customer. You play their game, but you're not the customer. You know, their customer is the person willing to spend, you know, $1,000 a month, $10,000 a month. The people who complain that, you know, I can only spend $10,000 a day at the Excellence store. That's the customer. We all are just, you know, benefiting from that exchange. Some of us benefit and contribute to the exchange. Like, for example, I bought a pack this month. I'm contributing to that exchange, but I know I'm not the target. So, can you do merch giveaways on YouTube? Indirectly, kinda. Like, short answer, no. I can't tie it to YouTube like I do Twitch. It would have to be a like an intercism. What pack did you buy? So, what I purchased this month was pure vanity. Yeah, come on, lag. Come on, lag. I'll show you. I bought a ship skin. And just to be clear, I don't recommend you buy it for the ability. I bought it because it's the Enterprise B. Or, as we say here on my channel, the USS Enterprise Ballybomb, because he's the one who helped fund this. But I bought this skin. I spent $100 and with my taxes is about $112 American. I spent $112 for it. And it does nothing for me in game. Like, there's no in-game benefit that I'm feeling for this. I got it purely because it's the Enterprise B. And I wanted it. I mean, it's just a beautiful skin. I've got nostalgia. I've got memories from childhood with it. That's why I got it. But do you think that 500 Apex barrier is doing anything? No. No. But it looks great. And I'm one of only a few hundred people who have that skin. So, and I've said before, man, like, for me, spending in Star Trek Fleet Command, because again, I'm not the target customer, right? I'm not the target customer. I'm not going to spend 10 grand. But I will spend because I'm happy. Like, if I'm enjoying something, I'll buy it. So, Humble says, congratulations, you have a skin I'll probably never have. Yeah, I mean, it's because we know to have the Enterprise B skin, you had to have bought the Enterprise B, right? Which I did. And then you had to buy the skin. So the number of people who have this is, I am technically a 1%er. I'm less than 1%. Less than 1% of the game has what I have. I am a 1% of a 1% when it comes to this particular topic. So, you're in a no sales tax state. Do you have a VPN? I do, and I know what you're going to say, and I will not do that because that is ethically wrong. And I won't do that, coach. I will not VPN to, say, Missouri, where there's no sales tax, to save $12. It's ethically wrong. I can't do that. Some people can, and if y'all want to go and save your $12 per pack, there's a lot of tricks and tips you can do to save that money. I can't do that ethically, and I can't do that. But if y'all don't have that ethical hang up, yeah, save you $12. Use a VPN. I can't do it. So that's how you're supposed to spend, because you want to, not because you think you have to. Agreed. Nice. You're ethically already in Missouri. Hell yeah. Yeah. Again, so like if you have a state that might have higher taxes, right? And if in America, our taxes are broken by region. So you have local taxes, state taxes, and then federal taxes. And what hits me on those purchases, because I know in a lot of like if for any Europeans watching and stuff, you know, you'll get on here, and if your pack says 99 euros, it probably costs 99 euros. In America, all of our taxes are determined after the purchase or during the purchase, not up front. So everything we say is a pre-tax number. There's also a lot of psychology in American stuff. Like, we're obsessed with putting 99 because there are people out there who see this, and let me go ahead and shame her. My wife was one of them. Like, if they see $99 here, not $100, right? The more like life-based example here is fuel, right? A lot of people see $2.99 and go, well, I just paid $2 for gas. No, you didn't. You paid $3 for gas. What? Why are you lying to yourself? It's that mental thing. So Anyway, what I was saying is where I live, I have to add about $12 to this to get my pack price. Some people might add 5, some people might add 20. Mine's 12. But there are some states that don't have those obligations. Like there are states that don't do income tax, for example. There are states that don't do sales tax. There's some states that don't, do property tax. Taxes vary based on where you're at. So what some people can do is they'll hop on a VPN and say, well, I actually live in one of these places. And since if you go into the Exela store, it's giving you the price based on your zip code, you can then save money that way. I personally can't do that. I can't. But if other people can, that's fine. Like, I'm not going to shame anybody. Do what you want to do, right? If Tim says, I'm from California and I've got to pay $140 after I pay my fuel tax and my school tax, my road tax, my electronics tax, my property tax, etc., and he wants to save all that and say that he's actually living in Missouri, cool. Go for it. I'm just not going to do it. So. Don't forget his tax. Yeah. Anyway, if you didn't know, there's workarounds. And before I probably shouldn't say this, but I don't have an NDA anymore, so it doesn't matter. So they can't gripe at me for saying it. But before the Russo-Ukrainian war, there were also a lot of people who used to use the Russian currency to bypass, because in terms of exchange rates and everything, the Russian currency was the cheapest way to buy packs to Star Trek Fleet Command. And what they would do is they would switch to a Russian currency, buy Google gift cards and stuff in Russia, and then use those currencies, flip them back, and then buy packs in game. And they were essentially paying like $10 versus somebody paying $100 for the same item. This was a big deal in VIP a few years ago. Like this was making a lot of people very mad. Like there were people who were spending $100 grand for something that somebody was getting for 10 grand using these backdoor methods. So again, it's a very deep rabbit hole we can get into. The point I wanted to make, as I tend to do, I often rabbit trail and it's really bad and I apologize. I don't do that stuff. But to Coach's point, if you want to, y'all can maneuver your way around and find ways to not spend certain things. So, Denwood says their state has a line item on the tax returns for untaxed digital purchases. Crazy. So, the Pirate Rev Dudes talking ethics is the joy you needed today. What can I say? The dichotomy of man right here. What can I say? IRS is on the phone. Hey, look, I've been very clear, Ghost Bob. I don't do this stuff. I pay my taxes. When I bought the Enterprise B skin, I spent $112. How do I know? Because I write down every purchase I do on a spreadsheet because I'm a budgeter. And I have a family spreadsheet. And in my expenses, for my business expenses, I specifically write down when I buy a pack. And I'm sorry, I've been lying to y'all this whole time. It's actually $110.98. So it's not $112, it's $111. So I've been lying. I'm sorry. I pay $110.98, and I've done that twice so far this year. 1, to buy the Excelsior. 2, to buy the Enterprise B skin. I've actually spent more on giveaways because I actually have to give away. So when I give away merch or I give away battle passes, that's all my money. So I've actually spent more money doing BP giveaways and merch giveaways than I have in game. So far this year, I have spent, about $400 on battle pass and merch giveaways. $400 giving away battle passes and merch. Yeah. Stench says, heads up European supporters of Rev. If you buy anything from his web store, it ships from this side of the world. We don't get screwed for postage. Correct. Yeah. The company I use called Fourth Wall for merch, which is revduce.com. Check it out if you haven't already. Greatly appreciate it if you do. But that store has got warehouses and print on demand in Estonia, Latvia. I think one of them is in Germany. There's one over in Asia, right? So like it's not getting made in Tennessee and then shipped to you from across the world. So do you buy the battle pass and merch giveaway through the RevDudes business account? Yep. Of course I do. Of course. So it's a tax write-off, but it still has to get spent. I also want to point out that the tax write-off thing is wildly misunderstood by a lot of people. And that included myself. Like I thought, well, if it's a business expense, it's a 1-to-1. Like if I spend it, I can write it off. Nope. All that saves me is the taxes I would have spent on those items. So it saves me the $11. Like I get the $11 in comp in my taxes. I wish it was 1-to-1. Good Lord, I wish it was 1-to-1. And if you're out there and y'all know a way to rig it 1-to-1, let me know. I wish it was 1-to-1. So, all right, let me get some more of this grind in while we're sitting here chit-chatting. All this chit-chatting we're doing, I need to do more grinding. So I get my aggregations done. Here we go, get the seek and destroy. I don't know why that keeps resetting. Using Mirror Rift jumps your view to your home system, and today is Mirror Sunday. Gross. Gross. Not surprising, but still gross. All right, get those in. Nice. And then I did get the C12 Stasis Globe already, which is on the Borg Cube. So my Borg Cube now has natural hazard resistance, which is the best. Love it. Aggregation. Anything in here I can grab? Yes, actually. Don't want that. Don't care about that. Let's do this. STFC players have the ethics of Ferengi. I don't. What? No, you can't accuse me of that. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Don't let me in. And look, I'm not going to judge somebody else for doing it. But Lord, calm down. But I will say this. I can absolutely understand why spenders and VIPs were getting really upset back in the they were getting really upset back in the pre-war before Russia got cut off because of sanctions, when all this was going down with the gift card. So I get it. I understand it. If I had spent 100,000 something and somebody did the same thing at the same time and spent 10-20% when I did, I can definitely understand that frustration for 100%. Like that is like, yeah, duh. I get it. It's great. I can chat with you live across the world, but I have to wait till tomorrow morning to ring your local courier to get your Rev Reaver jersey. I'm excited that you're finally going to get it, Stench. I thought you were never going to get it at this point. So I'm glad that's finally happening. Will Arena benefit from the new PvP ban, or do they have their own? Arena's already got its own structure for banding. So the new PvP banning does not mess with that structure. Taunt versus Klingon Armadas. Yep. Something that I would recommend you work on your Vindicators for Incursions now. I would say the Vindicator. Well, I say that. Cloaking is going to be the main thing. But if you happen to have a dominant group, like y'all are just dominating in Incursions, Vindicators can be very good for punching up on these new Klingons. Where's new PvP banning? I posted it. It's in my Discord, the Volunteer Charge channel. I actually just closed out the tab because we were done talking about it, but I can bring it back up here in a second. So, and Guy, I'm glad you enjoy the music. I wrote all the music that y'all hear on the streams because it helps me avoid copyright. So, the new Incursions banning and everything, Brett, this upcoming Saturday. Why you spend lat when you have speed ups? Because I have 96 million latinum. I earn, let's just say on an average week, I probably earn 2 million latinum a week. I'd say probably about 2 million latinum a week. So with that in mind, when I have to spend 2,700, it doesn't matter. Right? So that's why. Save that for Sigma speed ups? Nope. Because that's not going to be a problem for me. Y'all got to understand that when I put this account in G7, I won't experience your problem. So it's not a big deal. When I put this account in G7, it'll have zero issues with Sigma speed ups. It's only people who adopted that now that are feeling that problem. It's why I purposely do not play my main accounts in the highest area of the game, because I avoid all that frustration. I will never experience the frustration that Patrick and Skippy and stuff are currently lamenting about. Won't happen. Won't be a problem at all. Sigmas are G6 though, and you're G6. You're right. And guess what? I don't struggle with anything. I don't struggle with any loop. I don't struggle with cost for anything. I've got all 3 G6 uncommons with one of them at tier 9. And I'm still sitting on oodles and boodles of Sigma. Right? It doesn't matter. I could go to 66 right now and already start working on my 66 ship. The only thing I'm actually catching up on is I'm catching up on uncommon ore, because I did blow through a little bit with that with the cube. But it's not speed ups. It's certainly not latinum. Skippy says, not frustration, you say, we just don't play as you are right now. First of all, Skippy, you can't say it's not a frustration, because I literally watch the VIPs complain about it every daggum day. But it's an intentional frustration. It's a frustration designed to make people spend money. So, you took an uncommon G6 ship to tier 9. Which one? The Akira. And it's actually very helpful and very useful, because I use it in Outpost. Here. I can't believe you haven't seen it. Here she is. But again, this is easy to do now. Like, I get it. Like, when Skippy was back here, but Skippy's not even a player that I would really call a whale, right? Skippy's more of a mid spender. But let's just say Haywire. Everybody knows Darth Haywire, right? When Haywire was first going through G6, picking this up was stupid. It made no sense. It made no sense. Now you can 100% pure free to play your G6 uncommon to tier 9. It doesn't break your bank. Gives you an amazing board cube by comparison to what you have other options to. And you can have fun experiencing the game without having to skip stuff or spend a lot of money, right? That didn't used to exist, right? That I've openly said, there was a time that even I was telling players who were in G6, don't worry about the uncommons right now. And it didn't make sense for those people. It makes sense for everybody now. Like, if you're level 60, makes complete sense for you to get a 63. Is your relativity maxed? Working on it. Not quite. Not quite. So, working on it. That reminds me, I have a part I can upgrade. Let me do that. 2 parts. So, I could actually spend some specialty currency and do more of that, but yeah. Tier 9 is a lot for the cube. It is. Yeah. And I'll be honest, I could even go further if I wanted to. Because if you look at the upgrade costs, again, remember, I have a lot of efficiencies. But look, besides the parts, this is the reason I don't do it. Besides the parts, I've got plenty of everything. The parts, though, you still want to be careful. You've not reached a point in G6 yet where you can just willy-nilly throw away parts. You do still have to mind your parts and be very careful. But, again, this is something that at one point was unthinkable, is what we're getting at. This was unthinkable at one point. So, Coach says my rally at Ops 62 is 21 bill. Yeah, the relativity can get maxed in G6 and be very good. Now, I want to point out that my cube will dog walk your relativity. But in terms of PvE content, absolutely. The relativity and the GS31 are 2 of the best ships in G6. In fact, this is the best ship in G4 and G5. So. And I just haven't finished yet. I've debated on the relativity. I've debated speeding it up with a couple of the loops and stuff, and then using the event stores. I haven't had a need, because again, I don't really have a need. Like, I could just sit there and enjoy it as it levels up. I don't need it to be bigger. But at the same time, it is nice that as a low G6 player, you can have a max relativity, and a max relativity at level 70, if you're out there curious, that can get you into G7. Like, if you're one of those people that doesn't want to play like Rev, you don't like my play style, like you don't want to play a little bit slower, you want to find the good pathway to skip some things, relativity, GS31, you can ride those both into G7. There are some negatives that you'll have to experience if you choose that. you know, you'll have to figure out, well, if I do that, what am I going to do with Conqueror boards, for example? But in terms of like ship strength and ship ability, you can ride those things all the way through G6. You can ride the relativity from level 42 to level 70. So, Stench says, depending on the level, the GS has resistance is a selling point. And again, even that's changing a little bit because this is now 100% free to play. Now, again, I'm not saying that the GS31 can't be better, but the fact that anybody here today can be free to play working on the C12 Stasis Globe is a massive change in play style. Massive change in play style to just 6 months, a year ago. This was 100% free to play. I didn't pay for that. But that's a base hazard resistance everywhere, 200%. That significantly boosts any specialty ship. Relativity, cube, even a faction ship if you want to piggyback on top of the already existing researches. All right, but you are right. If you go into your starships tree, you come on down to the hazard-proof research right here. You see my next one's at 64. That's pretty huge. Maxing out at 500% makes it very useful for just regular grinds. So, yep. You got the globe on the Minerva for hostile hunting and G6 solos, yeah? And see, I just use my cube for all that. Even though I have an Akira, I just use the cube. Because the cube's the better ship, honestly. Vindicator gets beefy in G5, G6 as well. It does. It just doesn't get... So the beefiest ship in the game right now, if you're G4, G5, is the Relativity. This is the strongest ship at the moment in G4, G5. Now, I would need to go look at the Excelsior for those ops ranges, because the Excelsior also gets decently big, but that's kind of tough to really gauge right now because nobody has it besides spenders. Like, for example, here's a tier 4 Excelsior sitting at a little under a Billy. Again, it's all relative to ops level and stuff, but obviously a tier 4 Excelsior much lower than a tier 12 Relativity. But the point is, this thing right here, if you wanted to, is the strongest ship in G4, the strongest ship for you in G5, and probably your second strongest in G6. Maybe third, depending on what we're, classifying as strength. Oz 50 having problems doing aggregation hostiles. Is there a mitigation I need to focus on? The main thing with aggregation is your building. Remember, because you need to get that hypothermic stabilizer up. That's the main thing with aggregation, is doing your building. So you have to start from the lower end ones and work your way up. Yay, Tritanium Generator D. Big upgrades. Big upgrades. I want to come over here and get the outpost upgraded, because I would like to get to 40. Obviously, I'm not there yet, but I'd like to get to 40 so I can have 3 ships. At 3 ships, I should be able to easily farm the 63s. Right now, I can't easily farm a 63. But with a 3rd ship, I should be able to. And in that instance, for those curious, I'll be Cube, Negvar, Akira. So. All right. Relativity did not outdid my tier 9 Pylum in G4, even when it was ops locked, and only outdid my G5 Epic because it could reach places my Epic couldn't. I'm really surprised that it didn't outdo your tier 9 Pylum, Arid, because a Relativity that's ops locked in G4 is over twice the strength of a tier 9 Pylum. Now again, strength isn't everything, and it is an Explorer, so most of that power is in its shield health, but it still should have outperformed your Pylum. But not, again, I don't know your research levels. I don't know any of that. You could just be very short on Relativity stuff, and you were very big on getting all your FKR stuff in. I don't know what FTCTs you were running, and I'm glad that's for you. But base stats-wise, the Relativity is significantly stronger than anything else in G4. So, none of the FKR research applies to it? Correct. None of the FKR research applies to any specialty ship. Sarco, Relativity, etc. But that doesn't stop them from being better, right? Just base stat-wise. You just know the backstory of the relativity is a lot like the Protostar Hyper Warp engine. Heard. Have you tried the outpost loot approach? Punch down with your best ship, loot crew, and 2 cadet crews on miners to reduce the outpost damage. While I know that exists, I don't use it because it's definitely not more beneficial to me. I make a lot less doing that. Because for me, punching down would be punching down on like a 56 or 58. And I'm going to make a lot less than just beating the 60s, which I can already do with 2 ships. What I can't do is I can't beat the 63. I could beat the 60s. I just can't beat the 63 yet. But I'm only using 2 ships. If I had 3 ships, I think I could beat the 63s. As in, like, complete them. Maybe not complete the epic one, but I'm pretty confident I could complete the standard 63 outpost with 3 ships. So. Dauntless has a boost for outpost loot. How do you use the ship for outpost? I don't use the Dauntless at all in outpost. My Dauntless is small. So. If I had a max tier Dauntless for my level, that might be different. But I don't use the Dauntless at all. So. Also, look at that. Yay. Can you lock all dry docks free to play? No, you cannot. There is still 1 dock, so it'd be this one right here at the end that you can't get free to play. But you can get 7 docks free to play currently in the game. You can currently get 7 of them free to play. Which is still pretty good. Not that I'm saying we shouldn't get the 8th one. We should, but it's still pretty good. You like the Bortus, and I think that you'll like the D7/Kating even more. You're scared of the repair build? Don't be scared of it, man. Like I said, the game economy is at a point where you won't be struggling. As long as you're doing your normal stuff, you'll be fine. You don't really have to worry about struggling to repair things and thinking about that too much until you're really in G7. 7 miners is not enough. You need an 8th. Well, I'm happy for you. If that's what brings you joy every day, heck yeah. Because let me tell you, that sounds like a sick, disgusting joke to me. And it horrifies me that you would even mention it. It horrifies me. Speaking of things that horrify me, I can come in here and do some of these. Look at all that gas I've got. How much? Okay, plenty of crystal. Gosh, my crystal numbers are crazy nice. 114,000 6-star uncommon crystal saved up. Jeez. Atlanta. That has me curious. Where is my... So my Negvar is tier 5. How many do I... 49,000 crystal. 27,000. All right. Just debating. Like, do I make 2 of these? But I'm not. I'm going to save. And then we'll save and just save for 66s. But I'll admit, the temptation's there. Temptation's there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got to wrap it up for the day because we got family stuff and I've also got to do some meetings. If anybody needs one-on-one help, reach out to me. I just did a one-on-one yesterday and players seem very happy with it. I hope they stay happy with it. But if you need one-on-one help and you want to sit down, hit me up. We can talk about it. If y'all just need help in general, join the Discord. If you want to support the channel and you get access to the podcast, you get access to the movie night that we do, all the fun stuff we do behind the scenes. And we're going to start doing... Humble, I think you'll like this if you're still out there. Me and my wife, we asked a few people. We're going to start doing unboxing content on our website just so people can get to know us better, like as a couple and as people. So if you want to get to know me and my family more, stop on the website. Little as $5 a month. Appreciate y'all. Thank you. Live long and plunder. Deuces. I'll catch y'all on the next one. And then, yep, tomorrow morning we have a video about incursions. So check it out. See you then.